Okay. And now call the regularly scheduled meeting for the Natrona County Board of County Commissioners for Tuesday, October 5th, 2021 to order. Ms. Good, may we have roll call?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Hendry?
Here.
Commissioner Kaufman?
Here.
Commissioner Milne?
Here.
Commissioner North?
Here.
Chairman Bertolio?
Here. Would you all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get started on our agenda, I'd like to take a little chairman's prerogative here. Last week, Natrona County lost a fabulous police officer and a really good role model. I happened to be there when he was sworn in. I was the mayor at the time, and it was truly a great day for Casper. He was, and still will be, one of the finest officers. When he came in, Chief Pagel at the time said, this gentleman is going to have a great future and he's going to be a great role model. And he has done that, and his legacy will continue. So with that, I'd ask everyone just bow your heads for a second, a little moment of silence. Thank you. All right, thank you. At this point, the chair would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, so moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Milne, second by Commissioner Hendry. Any discussion or comments on any item on the agenda? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We have no public hearings tonight, so at this point we're going to go to public comments. Is anyone in the audience wishing to address the commission?
Good evening, Andrew Schneider, 8711 Everett Lane. Mr. Chairman, just wanted to thank you for your testimony last week at the Joint Revenue Committee regarding property taxes. And I came tonight to follow up on the last conversation we had about this regarding East End Road. Now that we're paying a full year's taxes on our land value out there, I've started taking an even sharper look at getting us a full year of access up there. When I spoke with Mr. Higler a year ago in April, there was a missing easement for Lot 6 in our subdivision, which is where the trees are. I did find, it took me about 3 hours in the records room, but I did find an easement. You've got 66 feet through the trees there, and I encourage you all to take a look at opening that up. I don't know if there's an idea that I might go away or stop bringing this issue to your attention, but I can assure you that as long as I'm drawing breath, this is going to continue to come up. So I gave copies of the easements, and I'll hand these to you all as well. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions? Commissioner Hendry?
Just one. You gave a copy to Mike Hagler?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Tracy Lamont, 9855 Crimson Dawn Road. I promised you, Paul, I'd be good. First of all, thank you for your testimony. You set the stage for that hearing. That was probably one of the most constructive hearings I've gone to involving the legislature last Thursday, so you did a fantastic job. Rob, thank you for asking that question of Danelle, if the Sheriff's Department was covered under a separate policy for their personnel for addressing mental health issues. That is very dear and near to me, and it was encouraging to hear that there is that program, and you were spot on in asking that on it. And, you know, thank you for recognizing Danny. Paul, that was very thoughtful of you. He was a good man. On it, how that slipped through the cracks is beyond me, but that's an awareness that we all need to be focusing on in the future. And those people endure some pretty, tough, you can associate that with, and you were a sheriff too, Jim, on them. So that was the two things. I'm going to set the stage here and make it easy for you, Paul. On it, almost everybody in this room here, outside Andrew and myself, are here for the airport, I'm guessing. So I'm going to coach them all a little bit because you were going to wait till the end. Folks, if you're here to speak in favor of the airport and the dilemma that you're confronted with there, step up to the mic right here behind me. Now's your chance to get on public record so it doesn't get lost at the end of the meeting. So, and I'll leave with that. I think we need to back up what the airport manager's asking for. We're going to be out of business with that particular carrier, and we're going to be scrambling to find another one. And that's a vital link over to Salt Lake City for sure. Past that, I don't know much more about that, but the floor is yours, folks.
Thank you. That's a record. Mayor Ford, did you want to talk to us, or did you want to just catch us off to the side?
I can just catch you guys later. Brooke answered a lot of my questions.
Okay.
You've got a lot more people on a lot bigger conference.
Okay, anyone else wishing to, about anything besides the airport?
Nothing. I'm out of the airport.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Commissioners. Paul Marble, 3840 East 18th Street. I'm a fairly new resident to Casper. I work at the college as the athletic director. Our women's team, soccer team, just took first place in the region. Most of the girls are from Salt Lake City area. Their parents fly back and forth to watch them play, and the kids travel back and forth multiple times during the year to go home for whatever occasion. I know I personally go back and forth a bunch because that's where I moved up from as well. I think it boils down to a fact of whether we're going to be optimistic or pessimistic. And so I would encourage us to be optimistic because I don't like to be around pessimistic. And I don't think you guys do either. And so let's have some encouragement for the future, and hopefully that this thing will work its way out, and I believe it will. And if it doesn't, we'll figure out a better way to handle it. And I know things are different this year than they were last year at this same time, and we're dealing with it in a much better and more efficient way. But by the way, our guys took second, and our ladies took first in rodeo this week for the first time in forever. So in the rodeo we had. So things are good, and I'm an optimistic person. I have a lot of enthusiasm, and I'd like for us to keep the airport. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to just simply address the commission about the airport? Then we're going to have a little or we're going to have a roundtable discussion amongst us. So you're here to bring us money.
Well, of course. Or suggest perhaps that we could find that money at some point. I understand that there isn't. But Justin Farley, 3511 Carmel Drive here in Casper. I'm here on the behalf of Advance Casper as the head, the CEO and president of that organization. Our board has expressed interest in obviously keeping the Delta Airlines flying into Casper, Wyoming. So I'm here to speak on in favor of that, and then also get creative in how we could possibly find other partners, including the Economic Development Joint Powers Board, Advanced Casper Private, that could help later down the road with some of that funding issues as they come up. But it'll take full board approval. I would encourage you to make the commitment to Delta Airlines in the airport, and then we could, as it were, build it as it flies after that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Sweeney, good evening.
So, Pat Sweeney, 951 North Kimball, here in Casper. So, The airport is in my district. And obviously, the 40-plus years that I've lived here, off and on, the airport, as all of you are well aware, is very vital to our economy and keeping things moving and keeping us really a first-class place to do business and an economic driver. So some of the discussion earlier during the work session, I know you're all aware of that, but one of the things that occurred to me is if this goes away and if we don't act, then what? And it's just not that easy, as Glenn can attest to, and the board members from the airport that you've appointed, to get another airline in here to fill that void. It just doesn't happen like that. And you're all aware of that. So I made some calls this afternoon, in particular to Don Richards with LSO, who's, I mean, a financial genius as far as I'm concerned, but and he's co-chairman of the Craig group, and really does a lot for our state, and in particular the legislature. But so you, as County Commission, City of Casper, I don't think got anything, any direct distributions as far as the CARES Act funding goes. The Health Department probably was our closest portion of that. But my understanding is on the ARPA funding, the city got a distribution of 9.1 million, and the county got approximately 15.5 million distribution. So, and those have strings. Totally agreed. One of the categories is directly for COVID related, and Don's interpretation of, and he's read the rules and understands that with pretty good clarity, I believe. He doesn't believe that fits this need. There's economic factors as another category. He doesn't believe that with all the strings attached that fits. Water, broadband is another category that he, again, doesn't see where that fits. But the last category thought may be of some help in your decision process this evening. And that's the revenue replacement or replacement of lost revenue during 2020, which all leads up to this point in time that he felt, and I feel, definitely is related to COVID-19 and the drop in business travel. And so he believes that could be utilized in the revenue shortfall to supplant. We're not going to get additional funds, but utilizing those funds to replace on this particular category the revenue shortfall, and that there is flexibility in that portion, as I understand it. So what I'm asking for is you consider that as a possibility, and maybe I certainly can't speak for the city, but they received like I said, 9.1 million. And maybe there's a partnership there between the county and the city on this portion. Now, it was discussed how, that really, will it come back on its own? My fear is that it won't. Once that regional jet or jets is taken to a different marketplace, will we exceed expectations in the future where Delta would say, we want to be back in that market? I don't know. You obviously don't know. Nobody knows. But one thing I know for sure is if we let it go away, we're taking a huge, huge risk and of possibly ever getting that to return. The other portion of the discussion this afternoon was around, do we need the full amount of money? The estimated $755,000, and that's the cap, and might it run out? Yes, it might. But there's also the other side. If business travel picks up a little quicker, we may not need the full guaranteed amount either. And if you move forward with this, I believe the folks in the audience, as Justin just mentioned, that it would give us more time, if it is looking like it's going to run out, to go out and find additional partners for the future. Let's say it's not going to make it the six months. It gives us some time. And these airlines probably know better on their modeling than we do, or Glenn does, actually on the modeling, and they're very sophisticated at these things. And so with that, I'd ask for your consideration on that. Give us some time, and this would buy the time. But I definitely, in talking to Glenn a little bit further after the meeting, it looks like we do need a decision. They've given us today, it sounds like, and like was previously stated, they've already pulled out of other markets like they said they were going to. So with that, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for your time.
Okay. Just so you're aware, the revenue replacement, we don't have any. We did the calculation, and we don't qualify for any of it. So the between selling the hospital and a couple other things get thrown in there, even though it really shouldn't, we don't get any. Now, NACO has so right now we're in the interim, under interim rules. We're waiting for the final rules. NACO has asked to be able to look at specific revenue streams that are truly COVID-related impacts rather than the entire general fund. So we're hoping that the final rules will actually address that to where we can pull some of these abnormal funds that have came into the county during that period, to where we can actually maybe hone in on sales tax losses, a few things like that. A good example is, no one ever think about it, but the detention centers revenues were down because we weren't keeping people in the jail. They weren't sending them to the jail. So there are some that were very specific impacts to certain typical cash flows for the county. But when we sum it all together, we weren't that far off. In fact, I think that most we might be able to get. Was it 40,000? I think it was a very small amount. But we're hoping that the interim rules or the final rules will have some adjustments to that.
Thank you. I wouldn't have even thought about the hospital sale.
Yeah.
But that's huge.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, just little. All right, thank you.
Then, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
We're scheduled to get that much money in the city of Casper, but we only got half of it so far.
okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thanks. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Representative Sweeney. Good evening.
Kim DeVore, 1421 South Center.
Mic needs to be turned.
I have never,
Just
ever
hit
in
the
my
bit.
life heard anyone say turn it up, Kim.
Yeah, you got to turn it. It's
Is it just
you got to make it.
on?
You can make it turn green.
Thanks, Pat.
We could hear you, but they couldn't.
That's true. I was gonna say, I never need a mic, but
Oh, that stupid thing. The light's on.
Maybe a low battery. Pat burned it up, though. There we go.
Don't touch it.
okay, I'm not gonna touch it. Hello. Okay. Kim DeVore, 1421 South Center. I'm here wearing a few hats, a Jonah Bank hat, a business owner and business in Natrona County, Wyoming Business Council hat on behalf of the state and economic development. What I really want to focus on is what our athletic director brought up, the optimism part. Because your role is to decide if this is a good investment and worth the risk. And I would agree, we need to look on the optimistic side of this, and I'd like to give you some information that supports the fact that hopefully this isn't something that continues on much longer. This is an effect of the pandemic. And we live in a great bubble here in Wyoming, frankly. If you only do business in Wyoming, it feels like not a lot has changed and we're going about our regular business. If you do business out of state and vice versa, the world is very different and it is just now opening. I serve on a couple Federal Reserve boards for the Federal Reserve Board of Kansas City. In 2 weeks, this will be the first time in 20 months that we will meet in person. And I will be flying out of Casper to Kansas City. The following month, I'll fly to DC for the exact same thing. I have an employee right now at a CAT conference in Florida that did not happen last year. All of this is just opening right now. I'm sure you're familiar with my husband and his brother. They own Peterbilt and they're Isuzu dealers. They also are for the first time having their corporate reps come here. We have not seen this level of business travel as it relates to anything interstate until, I would say, the last month. So that should give you optimism that this is picking up. We are booking conferences. There are banking conferences. There are accounting conferences. There are trainings that have been postponed and canceled up until now. So the rest of the United States is opening up. They're holding these. They're vaccinated. They're comfortable. So that should give us optimism that business travel will pick up. We're seeing it and we're experiencing it already. It is incredibly rare. Fred and I moved back to this community because this business community has a really strong commitment to not asking the government for help. It's an awesome thing. It is amazing how we rally around and we get things done. It's rare that you would see this group of people coming forward asking for your help from a financial support standpoint. We need to fill this gap. What? Oh, there's a whole nother example. Pat just reminded me, Two Fly. We are always a full tournament.
And the only people that could not come to this last tournament were corporate company participants, the Exxons, the Halliburtons, all of those participants were not allowed to travel. Once again, another thing that's opening for all of these people. But guys, we don't come forward and ask you for these types of things. Our normal modus operandi is to do it on our own. We don't have time. But we've been given a great opportunity by SkyWest, because I'll tell you, our daughter lives in Durango. They lost their service on Friday. No discussions, no opportunities to save it. That also should give you another level of optimism. SkyWest is a business. They are in the business to make money, of which in Wyoming, I'm pretty sure we're the poster child for there's nothing wrong with trying to make money. That's what we're designed to do in free enterprise. But SkyWest is a business, and they are not stupid. They would not be giving us this opportunity if they were not also optimistic that we will recover back to normal levels and they'll be at a profitable level. I really sincerely doubt that they just have a big heart for Casper, Wyoming. They're a huge organization, and they have to see some sort of positive outlook for us, or we wouldn't have this chance to stand in front of you right now. So I really think this is a viable, strong use, and I guarantee you this business community will make sure we don't have to come forward and ask you again when this is fulfilled. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions? All right. Well, just one?
Gonchanoska, 3881 Placid Drive. I think this is my first time coming before you that I'm not going to speak in my capacity as the airport director, because you got to hear that earlier. What I will say is, some of you know this, my wife had a heart transplant 3 years ago this coming Friday at the University of Utah Hospital in Salt Lake City. We've used this Salt Lake City service a number of times for different purposes, including going back and forth to see her doctors. So when you look at this and you hear the economic impact and what this does from a business standpoint, and I think you probably have some printouts or some emails, and I know this is probably getting a lot of information to you at the same time that you're trying to do your other business, and probably didn't have a lot of opportunities. There's a letter from Krista Johnson that talks about the difference with the service of expanding and starting an operation in Casper versus relocating outside of Casper. And I bring that up, and I bring up my wife's story as not an economic impact. We're not a business traveler when we travel for medical purposes, but that service is necessary, especially in the wintertime when the roads are bad, and we need to go see her doctors in Salt Lake City. That's important. And there's a lot of stories like that. There's business stories, there's personal stories, there's leisure stories. There's probably a lot of stories that you haven't heard about yet in the importance of having the service. So from a personal standpoint, it's something that impacts our quality of life and means that we can live in Casper and be able to go see her Raina's doctors when we need to without having to either go through and spend half a day going through Denver or that 400-mile drive to Salt Lake City. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Right, thank you.
Okay.
No. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. I'm Robin Brumley, 1631 Blue Spruce, and I am also speaking of the airplane, the Delta, if that's okay. I'm sorry I was late. I went to the wrong meeting.
We're the fun meeting over here. You went over there.
Thank you. I'm a retired teacher. My husband is a pharmacist. We chose to move here 47 years ago after visiting here on vacation from Texas, and we have loved it. And to me, part of the strength of Casper is having the access to the airlines. And Salt Lake is our favorite, Delta is our favorite, but I also have put groups together to travel for the last 20 years through go-ahead tours, and I have taken people from Casper just about every year, about 20 people every year, and that's something that I it's very appealing to people that they don't have to drive or fly to Denver to catch a flight to go on a trip, that we can leave right from here. But I think, I really feel like if it leaves, that we will be struggling to get it back. And I just feel very strongly about that. So, thank you.
Thank you.
And I printed some little letters to give you all, so.
Okay,
shall
thank
I
you.
just leave them here? Or? Thank you. Is it okay?
Yeah, we're, all right. Anyone else wishing to okay. Good evening, Ms. Powers.
Tasma Powers, 4438 East 24th Street, Casper. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak tonight. I emailed each of you about this issue previously. I'm here on behalf of McMurray Companies and as an individual, and I'm on the board of Advanced Casper as well. We are asking that you lead in this situation and take this step to help keep Delta Airlines here while the rest of us can figure out how to provide a more permanent solution than underwriting the cost of travel for Delta. I think that it's important to realize, and I'm sure that you do, that there's the direct economic impact of not having Delta, and that our United flights are either going to be impossible to get on, or the cost will prohibit a lot of travel in and out of Casper. There's the economic impact for people that travel to Casper to fly out of our airport, which is a gem, and we obviously are proud to have that airport. There are more than just Casperites that use that airport, and they do things when they're here. There's the indirect impact that this will have, which I don't think we can measure, nor do I hope we ever have to spend the time to measure. But I know, working for a company that is trying very hard to do the best things for this state and this community and this town and this county, we spend a lot of money trying to develop economics. Part of that is at the airport. We do own interests in the airport property, surrounding property. But some of that is having Casper be a destination of choice for leisure and business travel. And not having competitive fares and multiple ways to get here will severely hinder our ability to do that and limit the incentive for us to go forward with some projects. So, and that is by no means a threat. That is the reality of the lack of transportation and an obstacle that we all face. So we're here today asking you to take a chance. I am not an optimistic person. I'm a pessimistic person, but even I have optimism in this situation that it will get better. And if this organization is willing to do what it takes to keep Delta here, that the rest of us can help fill that void for you so you don't have to do it again. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mike Stepp, 2315 Crescent Avenue in Casper. And Commissioners, thanks for letting me stand up here. I think I must be near the last, stage fright always. But I am here as a member of the Board of Directors of Advanced Casper, but also representing my company and myself, Donnell's Candies. Everybody knows who I am, but anyway, I sent you an email earlier today. Some of you may have read it already somehow in your time. I just want to reiterate that it does, air travel in and out of Casper impacts even the littlest stores on the main street on 2nd Street in Casper, Wyoming. But it also impacts us in ways we don't think about. Business recruitment for professionals, for engineers, for accounting, or for medical especially. all comes through the airport. People, companies, agencies, our own hospital, fly people in here to recruit. And so that is a very important key. We have traveling nurses that come into our store on a weekly basis. They're here for 3 months, 6 months. They did not drive their little car from Portland, Oregon. They flew in here. I had one just literally last week that was here for 6 months. Traveling doctors as well. I saw in one of my doctor visits last year a traveling physician because my regular physician was on vacation. So that's things that we don't think about. They're not posted in statistics. If you want to look at statistics, I gave out over 300 visitor guides this summer. A lot of those people traveled by vehicle, obviously, but many of them were traveling by air. They were here for funerals. They were here to visit loved ones that had ill. They were here to visit friends and family on reunions. And they flew from far-flung places like Atlanta, Georgia, Portland, Oregon, Las Vegas, Los Angeles. So airfare, air traffic for what we think of as travel, as vacation travel, sometimes that's some really critical unplanned travel. We've all been there probably, where we had to get to someplace in a hurry because of a loved one. And so that's just something we see on a weekly basis. So I wanted to reiterate that. That's something that's not brought up in statistics and probably won't be. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any questions?
Any other questions?
All right, thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the commissioners tonight? All right. This is not typically how we do this, but we're going to now have a discussion and make a decision on continuation of our work session. Commissioner Kaufman.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. And I just want to, before I dive into my points I want to share tonight, I want to say thank you. I took a phone call earlier that said, do you think the commission will be mad if we come and speak for this? And that's just democracy at its best. And I think access and government close to the people and hearing what you have to say is so important. And it's wonderful to see people in this building giving feedback no matter what side of the issue you're on. And I can't stress it enough. So for one, I'm super grateful that, and I see many awesome, amazing business leaders in our room tonight, and I'm grateful for your participation. It's nice to see you, so thank you. I think as the token tourism person on this commission, I just want to say a couple things. So we obviously listened earlier. I've listened to people's comments tonight. Number one is I think all of us are super responsible for quality of life and what that means to live here. And for many a years, we've touted the airport being super instrumental in our quality of life. And I don't think that that's changed just because Delta wants to do something different or doesn't have, or is looking for a revenue guarantee. So one, I mean, we sell the airport in tourism. We sell it from the duty-free zone. We sell it from an economic development perspective. We say recruitment and flights are critical. So that hasn't changed, in my opinion, based on what Delta wants to do. I think it's important that we retain that service. The second piece is tourism is the number 2 industry in the state, and I think oftentimes it's overshadowed by oil and gas. It is a real employer. It generates real tax dollars. In 2019, I would talk about 20, but it's an outlier year. People spent over $5 million on airfare to get here. People are coming to our market. There are regional and national conventions that I know we're getting because my office is selling them. Many of you know we hosted Ski for Light in 2019, where 250 visually impaired people came to Casper to ski up on Casper Mountain. How do you think they got here? They flew, right? Not a one of them drove in on their own. Okay, so tourism is a super critical piece of this. So as far as business recovery, and Kim, I really appreciate what you said on this. So you can look at national trends. Destination Analyst Weekly publishes what's going on with the American traveler. They don't, folks, anticipate a full rebound until 2024. But quarter by quarter, we are clawing our way back in business travel. I think we're starting to see it. I think our hotel properties that have meeting space will tell you that. So I do believe that there is a rebound on the horizon. I also am inspired, and Representative Sweeney, thank you for being here. I think there's a real opportunity to have a partnership with our legislature on this. Obviously, they know that there's a gap and we're stuck in it, right? So I'm hopeful that if we are able to buy time tonight, that we're able to form some kind of a partnership with our legislature to get this problem solved. And then finally, Beth Worthen was in work session with us earlier, and Casper is getting a temple built. I think it's in the next 18 months. They break ground, an LDS temple, they break ground on the 9th. And I do think that that's going to positively impact some of that air service out of Salt Lake too. So those are the reasons that I do support this effort. We may have commissioners that feel differently, but I feel like these things are critical if we want to build a place that people want to live and we want to retain our youth and make this community worth being in. So I know I've hijacked the floor, Mr. Chairman, but thank you.
All right. Commissioner Hendry.
You know, I came in today and I absolutely did not want to pay somebody to show up. And you guys heard that loud and clear. But the testimony that I've heard today, and I thought we were still going to have one and it was secure, but I hear that maybe we don't have one still and it may not be secure. And then I maybe forgot that even Jackson pays them to be there. So I'll tell you, I'm coming around to it. I wish it just wasn't the commission. I wish that Casper would go in with us because we all benefit by a lot of airlines. And when we used to talk about the convention center, you know, building one, that's great. We need air service to bring people here, to have big convention. And I don't know. I don't want to lose both of them, and maybe we will have to do something. And so I've kind of changed. You guys helped me along the way, but a real good testimony, and you know, a lot of things that I'd forgotten. But I'm kind of coming around to it.
All right. Dave. Commissioner North.
I'll go first last
You
time.
always get to go first. I thought
I know, please.
I was going to let him go first again. I'm with Rob. This afternoon, I am against subsidizing industry to get things done. I have been, but I also understand the importance of having another flight. And I'm still nervous. I mean, you guys understood that this afternoon. I don't like us throwing money at something that we don't have it. I would feel a lot more comfortable if we had a contract saying, yeah, we're going to be here no matter what. And I don't like, you know, Rob said he feels like we've been blackmailed. I feel that way a little bit too. And I understand where the airline's coming from on doing it's a business decision. But I really wish that they would have reached out to us before now, you know, quite a while ago, so that we could plan things and we could work together and get partners, you know, to support this. And the fact that they did come and give us an opportunity, that shows me that they want to stay here. But I'm still nervous about it. I'm still really nervous about it. It's a lot of money to spend and not have any guarantees. And it's a lot of money for only one flight a day, you know, one in and one out. But I do understand the importance of what it is to our community. I hope that they prove me wrong and that they get back on their feet a lot quicker and that they can do things a lot faster. But, you know, it is important to the business community. We've done a lot to the airport. We need to make sure that we maintain the airport, and we need to make sure that it's a safe place for these flights to come in and leave. We have to look at the big picture, not just one little thing at a time. And hopefully the city will step up and help us out a little bit. I don't count my chickens before they hatch on that either, but hopefully they will, and hopefully we can get some partners on making sure that the airline will come. Because I was totally against this when I walked in this morning, and I've heard a few things since then that have molded my mind a little differently, but I'm still nervous about it, but I will support it.
Commissioner Milne?
Now I know why everybody likes going last. Everything was already said pretty much. I agree with pretty much everybody. This gives me heartburn. Government shouldn't be involved to this extent in private business, I don't believe. However, with that said, and knowing that I came in opposed to it, the testimony that we've heard today in the work session, the points that were made throughout the day, they're all valid and have basically swung me over to the other side. As one of those, just last week, business is opening up, business is traveling. I'm a prime example of that last week. The feeder flights into the major hubs, they may be a little bit smaller, but those main lines going out, it was shoulder to shoulder. They're full. It was an irritating day from 4:30 in the morning to 7 at night. We're having to wear a mask, but it is what it is. But the point is the airports are full, the planes are full, these feeders are they're over 50. Everything I flew on was over 50%, easy. Probably about 70% full on the planes. Things are turning around, or they are coming back. I see it. I've got more trips planned coming up that are going to be outside where I need to fly. I flew Delta on my trip, and I really appreciated having that choice to go to Salt Lake instead of Denver for my trip. It worked out a lot better for me. So I see the benefit. I see us participating or partnering with a private entity to keep that service open as a benefit for this community. I would like to see our two cities in this county, and maybe the town and the other town, also partner with us. But I guess it's the Natrona County Airport for a reason. It'd just be if they would partner with us. They keep taking the tax base. They need to help pony up on some of this stuff. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, thank you.
Follow that.
Yeah.
Got any gasoline?
No. Well, I'll just throw my 2 cents in. I was sitting on the fence, not quite as firm as some of the others, fellow commissioners. Once you lose it, it's the odds of getting it back, I just think are gone. The fact that they came to us and said, we want to stay, but we have a corporate policy we've come out with, we're not going to lose money. I think there's a recognition that Casper is growing. I think the LDS Temple coming here after meeting with a couple of the elders of the church, there's going to be a significant migration into Casper and probably a lot of tourism and religious related travel probably coming through Salt Lake City. That's one of the upsides I really see. I am not going to rest on our laurels that we're going to cover 100% of this. I will be reaching out to the city and all the other mayors. Oh, Mayor Ford snuck out. But this should be a community effort. It shouldn't just fall on just the county. I believe we can let them know. In the past, I think we've had plenty of opportunity to marshal the forces together and everybody take a little bite of it. But in this particular case, where an answer is needed imminently, I'm willing to support it at this point. I do think that we're probably the 450. Everyone's saying the downside. There is some downside out there. I do think that the 55% load factor is probably very conservative. The only downside that I really see in their schedule is that it's very inconvenient. I personally looked at getting in and out of Salt Lake City, and it's actually more convenient to go through Denver and then over, simply because there's more flights. Well, if we lose one flight and there's none, getting that convenience back through Salt Lake City is twice as hard, rather than just saying, well, we got a flight. If we can keep one, the opportunity to build off of that's a lot easier than it is if we have none. So with that, I'm guessing we don't need a formal motion or anything. This is just thumbs up. So is everybody in agreement? All right, we're good. You can let them know that they have a subsidy. I guess the only question now, Commissioner DeVore's here, what process do we need to do to ask the Aeronautics Board, or does that go through the Airport Board to get the other 40%?
Hi, William DeVore, 1140 South Center, representing the Aeronautics Commission at this point. It's very clear, very not easy, but Glenn should know clearly how to do it. We're braced for it. We have a meeting this month. I don't have the date off the top of my head, but there's an application process, and it's very clean and very predictable, and shouldn't be an issue. Once again, I can't vote for the other guys, but we have money for this reason, and I thank you for your decision as a Casper resident.
Okay.
Thank you.
So Glenn, do you need anything from us moving forward immediately? Okay. Sure.
Mr. Chairman, with this, we will actually put together work with SkyWest and Aeronautics. As Commissioner DeVore said, it's kind of a two-part process. There's the application process to Aeronautics, and then there is the actual negotiation, the writing of the MRG contract itself, similar to what's been done in the past. So you will have a contract. The contracts are with the communities, and then if the 40% is needed, the 40%, the state reimburses us. So the contract will come back to you at a future meeting. Eric will review it, obviously, and it'll come back to you. So that's kind of the two-part process. So right now, we don't need anything other than your thumbs up, and that's enough for us to be able to convey that to SkyWest.
Okay. So when do you think the contract would come? How much time do I have to bend some arms? Or do you guys can help me bend some arms?
My hope would be that, because it's a relatively straightforward contract, it doesn't differ very much in terms of the structure. My hope is that before your next meeting in 2 weeks, we could have something back in place for you to look at in 2 weeks.
Yeah, because we'll have to be approved, and I assume they're going to want it approved before first Tuesday in November.
Yeah, I think at this point, SkyWest, and again, this goes back to the working relationship with us. What we did when they first talked to us 2 weeks ago, they said, if you don't even want to pursue this, let us know now. And so we said, yep, we think that this is something we want to go through. Let us know what this looks like. So they are, us telling them, I can send them an email and saying, this is something that the commission wants, that's enough for them to be able to keep it in the schedule until the time that we have this in place. That's the relationship that we've developed with them, our community, and with Aeronautics.
Okay. All right, good, thank you.
Yep.
All right. With that being done, commissioners' comments. Commissioner North.
Well, that turned out a little differently than I expected, but I think most of us up here had our minds made up until we heard testimony today. I do appreciate everybody coming in, and I did want to, I'm going to throw Mike Hagler and Mike Brown under the bus a little bit. We did get some wood, some dead timber cut down up at Ponderosa, and our plan is to open that up so people can go in there and get firewood. They will have to coordinate with Road and Bridge or Parks to get the permit. It'll be limited basis, limited time and stuff like that, so you can't just stretch it out for the rest of the season. That may be ending next Tuesday, the way it sounds. But we're moving forward. We cut approximately 1,250 to 1,300 trees out of there this year that were standing dead from the fire. And we still got some more to go, but we're making progress. So be patient. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Kaufman.
I'd be happy to give up my speaking if somebody wants to go first. Okay, I'll make it quick. Two things. In work session today, we talked about the Parks Board, and the commission will be appointing, I believe it's 3 additional members to the advisory board. There's been an exploratory process about migrating that from advisory as it is today to statutory. No decision has been made, so if there's somebody watching on YouTube or somebody in the audience who's interested in helping steer the ship on parks, we're accepting applications for that. And then the second thing I would say, and this is in tourism, using some CARES funding, we launched the Visit Casper Business Challenge. We received 27 applications for people who want to either grow a business, start a business, expand a business right here in Natrona County in the tourism space. So our semifinal round is tomorrow out at the Business Incubator Center, of course open to the public, but it was really inspiring to see. People want to be here, they want to grow businesses here, and they want to continue to serve visitors. So that's what I'd have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner North. Oh, excuse me, Commissioner Milne. It's been a long time. I never let him.
Sure.
I never let him take a break, and here I am, paying for it.
I don't really have anything. For those of you paying attention to the consent agenda, yes, there was the stage 1 lifted for fire ban. That doesn't mean you get to go hog wild. Please be aware and take care of any fires you start or use or do anything like that. So that'd be my only comment.
Chris Henry.
I've got a couple of things. I went to a redistricting meeting up in the basin, and there was a little move afoot to take part of Natrona County. And I don't know whether anybody, I was kind of shocked at that too, but the western end of Natrona County into the basin. And they wondered how the people would feel. So I went up there and, but they kind of the basin came around to it that they probably didn't feel that was a good option. But there is a move afoot to take some of Natrona County. So those redistricting meetings, I think, are coming up the 18th at the Ag Resource and Learning Center here in town. And everybody in Natrona County comes to Casper. That's our hub, and that's where we want it to stay. So redistricting is up for conversation. The other thing I have is kind of a neat deal. Roger Walters was the head of College National Finals Rodeo and College Rodeo. He sent a thank you. We gave him a saddle and he retired, and a bronze. He sent a little thank you card. There are no words to describe how much I appreciate your generosity. This is to Natrona County. That wonderful bronze is resting on my mantle above my fireplace. This county has shown me so much kindness and friendly hospitality. It has been such a pleasure to be in a county that is so involved in college rodeo. Thanks for letting me be a part of your community. Sincerely, Roger Walters. So he's going to be back one more month, and then he's done, and we have a new director, but he was quite a guy. Thanks.
Right.
That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
All right. I have one last thing. For those of you that attended Lieutenant Dundas's funeral yesterday, even right now I've got chills going. It is really a shame in our country that feeling can't be felt every single day for every single one of our law enforcement. It doesn't matter whether it's somebody with as much character and energy as Lieutenant Dundas had. I say thank you to all of you. And I apologize that our nation does not do that every single day. That we allow the media to abuse you, all these little special interest groups. I say thank you, and God bless you for all you do, because it can be any single one of us that one of these law enforcement people step up in front and take a bullet for us. So thank you. And with that, I get to go home and see Representative Marta Bertolio, first-year representative in the great state of Montana, who's driving through to go to her 10-year or 20, I don't know, it might be 20-year graduation from the Air Force Academy. With that,